Nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala Rasulil Kareem. Sorry for a very long absence. I had to move houses, so this is a new house and a new board. It's a white board as opposed to the glass board. But we'll arrange for the glass board later. Let's start with this. I think it should work, inshallah. Okay, so in the last lesson we started talking about verb, but then somebody mentioned that we should have the actual chart. And I know that I wanted to resist using charts, but I guess it's an inevitable in the case of verbs. So what we are seeing here, guys, what we are seeing here is the chart for present tense. So let's quickly analyze what's going on here. Ana, as we all know, I. So what we are seeing in blue color is ana, I, anta, you, anti, you, female. Huwa is he, hiya, she. So basically this row is first person, and then this row is dualities. Nahnu, we, antuma, you, but two people. We have covered this. So we should know what are these. Antuma is two but female. Huma is they. Huma is they but two. Huma is also they and two but female. As you are noticing, there's antuma, antuma, huma, huma. There is no difference, but when the verb gets attached, we'll go over it, then it gets changed. This row is third person plural. So nahnu, not third person plural, I'm sorry, it's a plural. So let me basically, this is singular, right? This is duality. We need to know this because this is a convention that we'll keep using, and this is plural. Okay, so nahnu is we, antum is you, more than two, antunna is you, female, more than two, hum is they, of course more than two, hunna is they, female, more than two, right? So now what is being represented in the green color here is the verb. This chart is of present tense. So the word fa'ala means to do something, right? An action. But when I say fa'ala, I have actually used past tense. This verb takes a lot of different shapes, as you can see here, based on what pronoun is being used, right? So ana af'alu, the word fa'ala becomes ana af'alu, I do. So ana af'alu, I do. Anta taf'alu, you do. Anti taf'alina, you, and anti representing a she, a female. Anti taf'alina. Huwa yaf'alu, he does. Hiya taf'alu, she does. Nahnu naf'alu, we do, but representing two. Antuma taf'alani, you too do. Antuma taf'alani, you too do. Huma yaf'alani, they in two, yaf'alani, do. So we can go over all of this. This is rare because this is duality, but you're seeing that how much variation of the word fa'ala is being used. So this is not, as you can see, easy. And then this is just the present tense chart. The past tense is completely different, actually, a different mold. So this is a very important aspect of the Arabic language, and it does need a chart. However, there are a few tricks. So I'm gonna write something which is very important here. The word anaitu. Anaitu. I've mentioned this before. Anaitu. It is actually not a word, but represents something. It represents something. Anaitu. What is this anaitu? Basically, alif, noon, ya, ta. So remember this trick. Alif, noon, ya, ta. If any of these words are starting with one of these letters, alif, noon, ya, ta, then it is a present tense. For example, ana fa'ala. Does it sound like a present tense? How do we know it's not a present tense? Because fa'ala, if I write fa'ala, ana fa'ala, instead of ana af'alu, if it was ana fa'ala, how would you tell that it is not a present tense? Because it is not starting from alif, it is not starting from noon, it's not starting from ya or ta. Right? So what did we learn here? Of course, you cannot memorize this chart today, but in this lesson, I'm just trying to cover a few tricks here. How do you know that a verb is in present tense? You can tell that a verb is in present tense when the first letter is starting from alif, noon, ya or ta. Now see this. Ana af'alu is starting from alif. Anaitu. Anta taf'alu ta. Anaitu. The last letter is ta. So that we know that taf'alu is present tense. Right? If it was a past tense, it would have been anta fa'altu. So fa'altu does not start from either alif, noon, ya or ta. So again, all of these words here are starting from either alif, noon, ya or ta, meaning that when you know that each at the beginning of the letter is starting from any of these alif, noon, ya, ta, then it is definitely a present tense. Okay, so we're gonna go continue with this chart, and we'll add the past tense here as well in the next lesson, and then it will take a few lessons to get familiarity. However, let's start with something simple here. Okay, so I am gonna focus on two examples here in the next 2 to 3 minutes. I'm gonna focus on hum yaf'aluna and antum taf'aluna. These are one of the most used types of verbs have been used in the Quran. So let's go over this. Starting from Surah Al-Baqarah as we moved to the beginning of the verses. Alladina yu'minuna. Alladina yu'minuna. When we say alladina yu'minuna, how do you know that it is referring to whom? That it is referring to they. Because yaf'alun is a mold of present tense because it's starting from ya, and ya is part of anaitu, so we know it's a present tense. But how do we know that it's referring to whom? By looking to this mold, hum yaf'aluna. Hum yaf'aluna is the mold. So when we say alladina yu'minuna, then we know that Allah is referring to they. That they believe. They believe. Allazina yu'minuna, present tense. And although there is no mention of whom in Quran, we know that because it's saying allazina yu'minuna, it is referring to whom, just because of this mold. However, let's say antum ta'lamun la'allakum tattaqun. Now it's changed because the beginning of the letter is ta. The beginning of the letter is ta. And in this mold, we are seeing that when the verb is starting from ta, it is referring to not whom. It is referring to antum, meaning you. You, plural. So, what we learn from this is that when a verb is in present tense, is starting from ya, and the mold is like this, yaf'alun, then even if there is no mention of whom, we know that it is referring to they. It is referring to whom. It is referring to they. Whereas when it is starting from the letter ta, it is referring to antum. So when Quran say la'allakum tattaqun, tattaqun is starting from ta. So we know that it is being referred to antum, you. So when the verb in present tense is starting from the letter ta, it is not referring to whom, but it is referring to antum. And when it is starting from the letter ya, it is referring to whom, right? So yeah, so please focus on these two for now, so that it's been repeated a lot in Quran. So I just want you to get a familiarity of antum tafalun and hum yafalun, so that we know that when Quran says alladina yu'minuna, hum yuqinun, humul muflihun, so when it's starting from, when the first letter is ya, part of anaitu, of course, ya, then it is referring to they, and when it's starting from ta, it is referring to antum. All right, inshallah, we'll in the next lesson we'll introduce past tense as well, and then it will take us a few lessons to get familiarity of the whole chart. But really, these two, just focus on these two nouns, so that at least we get a familiarity of this. So this is one point, and the first point I told you is the word anaitu. This is to understand that whenever each verb starts with one of these letters, it represents present tense. All right, inshallah, see you in the next class. Assalamu alaikum.